Hello and welcome. Today we are diving into the latest data on India's direct tax collections. Taxes are the lifeblood of any economy, funding essential services and development projects. So, understanding how much the government collects and where it comes from is crucial. So, in today's video, we'll be analyzing the figures for the financial year 2024-25, comparing them with the previous year 2023-24. The data we are discussing is sourced from the Income Tax Department website. First, let's quickly understand what direct taxes are. Direct taxes are paid directly to the government by individuals and organizations. Think of income tax, corporate tax, these are prime examples. In contrast, indirect taxes are levied on goods and services like GST. While both are important, we are focusing on direct taxes today because that's what our document is about. Direct tax collections are the key indicator of the health of the economy. Higher collections often signal economic growth and increased income levels. Now let's look at the numbers. Here is a look at the key data from our document comparing the direct tax collections as of 16th March 2025 for both FY24 and FY25. As you can see, we have data for gross collections, refunds and net collections broken down into corporate tax, non-corporate tax, securities transaction tax, STT and other taxes. Let's start with gross collections. In FY24, the total gross collection was Rs 22.27 lakh crore or trillion, and in FY25 this has increased to 25.86 trillion. That's a significant jump of about 16%. Of course, not all of this remains with the government. A portion is refunded to taxpayers. Refunds also saw an increase from 3.47 trillion in FY24 to 4.6 trillion in FY25, about 33%. The net collection, which is what the government actually receives, also shows a healthy increase. It rose from 18.8 trillion in FY24 to 21.26 trillion in FY25. Overall, we are looking at a growth of 13% in net direct tax collections. That's a solid growth rate. Now let's break this down by tax type. Of the total net collections of 21.26 trillion, 45.6% comes from corporate tax, that is about 9.69 trillion. 54.3% comes from non-corporate tax, which includes even STT, that is about 11.54 trillion. And the remaining 0.1% is contributed by other taxes. So the focus here is non-corporate taxpayers, which include individuals like you and me, HUFs, firms, etc., contribute to the highest direct tax collections in India. And if we look at the trend, corporate tax net collections have increased from 9.08 trillion to 9.69 trillion. That's a 7% growth in comparison to 13% increase in gross collections. This is because of refund, and the refund has also gone up by 40%. Then non-corporate tax including STT net also saw a growth from 9.71 trillion to 11.54 trillion, a hike of about 18.9% in comparison with an increase of 19.4% in gross collections. So the difference here is not much, so refund is not significant, but again refund here is also has gone up by 23%. If we specifically focus on STT that you pay on your stock market transactions, this has increased from 34,131 crore to 53,095 crore, 56% increase. That's a big jump, and it's quite understandable considering the stock market boom that we had witnessed earlier. In contrast, collections from other taxes have come down by about 7%. In general, several factors could be driving these positive trends. For instance, a growing economy leads to higher incomes and increased profits, which in turn can boost tax collections. Then certain tax policies or reforms help to widen the tax base, improve tax compliance and streamline tax administration, which in turn can contribute to higher revenue. But let's do a deep dive to analyze some numbers. We have time series data from the Income Tax Department for about 2 decades from FY 2001 to FY 2022. As you can see, for all the years except for FY21, probably due to the pandemic, corporate tax collections have always been more than non-corporate tax collections, which include even STT. Now, if you are interested in in-depth analysis of this time series data, I have a separate video on this topic. You may consider watching it. The link is in the top right corner. Now, coming back, the situation is same even for FY 2023, as you can see from the press release by PIB. So the trend began to shift from FY24 onwards when non-corporate tax collections started to exceed corporate tax collections. Now, why this shift? One reason could be moderate growth rate in corporate tax collections. This is because of sharp rate cuts during FY 2020 when alternative tax regimes were introduced for corporates, very similar to the one we have for individuals, which is more familiar as new or now the default tax regime. These alternative tax regimes helped corporates go for reduced rate of tax from 30 or 25% to 22 or 15% as applicable. So we can say that over the years, due to these rate cuts, contributions from corporate tax collections have gradually come down. And another obvious reason would be significant increase in non-corporate tax collections. As you can see from the press release by PIB, this increase is because of three different reasons. One, resilience and robustness of the Indian economy. Two, improved taxpayer compliance. I guess we're all doing good. Three, government's efforts to broaden the tax base. Apart from this, I couldn't find any other specific reason or evidence in support of this increase. If you have some information, feel free to share it. So, in conclusion, the data indicates a healthy trend in India's direct tax collections with significant growth compared to the previous year. This was all about the rise of individual taxpayer like you and me in contributing to India's economy. Hope it was informative. Thank you for watching.